right, it is time for Friday Reads. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and share with you my Friday Reads video. In my Friday Reads, I share the books that I finished, the books I started, and anything interesting about books I'm carrying over week to week. And I do have a little bit of everything, which is really exciting, so let's get right to it. We are right now in the middle of Grinchathon, or getting towards the end of Grinchathon, and I have had some success already, and I even added a few things because Grinchathon, there are no rules. The rule is you don't have to follow the rules. The rule is there is no rules. And so I picked up something that wasn't on my TBR, and that is there's a monster in your book. And this is by Tom Fletcher, illustrated by Greg Abbott. Let's get a good line there. And yeah, so this is obviously a kid's book. It was 22 pages long, and it was really cute. There's a monster in the book, and it's a sort of like interactive thing where like you are supposed to talk to the book and shake the book and listen to the book and tickle the book and all this stuff because there's a monster in the book. So I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It was interesting to read it. Like I read it on my tablet, so it was interesting, and they even have a preface thing of saying the best thing to do is to fix the, what's that called? Starts with an A. Not, or maybe not. I was thinking alignment, but they suggested, to make it so that it doesn't auto adjust the, like portrait versus landscape. There's one word that encompasses all of that. Anyway, so, but I didn't actually shake the book. I might have tickled the book, but I didn't shake it. But so because it's not for kids, and I love it, but it was a lot of fun. I came across this because Anita from Anita Reads has mentioned the author before, and he's also a member of a band or a musical group. This was the only one that was available at my library, so I put a hold on it, and it just came in, and it felt like the perfect thing for Grinchathon. I can't remember. Oh, I chose it for Zoom because there's a monster that's running around in the book. So that was, I have a couple of different choices for Zoom, but that was the one, in case I don't finish any other ones, this will count for Zoom. So I finished that. I also caught up with Ajin, Demi Human. I read volumes 8 and 9 before Grinchathon started, and then, no, that's not it. 9 and 10. 8 was green, so I picked it. So I finished 8 recently, and then 9 and 10, and then before Grinchathon, and then 11, 12 during Grinchathon. I've mentioned this. This is a manga series, and it is about these demi-humans who are sort of immortal, and they have this sort of projection. They call it something, and they use an acronym like IBL or something, or IBM, or no, it's not IBM. They wouldn't use IBM. Anyway, and so they have these sort of specter projections that they have semi-control over, and there's a bunch of different demi-humans, and they're sort of, I don't want to get into it because I can't remember how soon you hear about the plot that I'm following, because I'm in 11, 12. So, so I am actually now up to date on the series in terms of the releases that my library has, which is up to volume 12. I think it's going to be at least 16 or 17. I think it's a currently publication, but I guess it takes a while for it to be translated and then digitized and all that good stuff. So we're not up to date here. And so I am enjoying it, but it is a very, very violent, because they're immortal-ish. There's a lot of body horror. So if you're into that, I find it a little hard, especially because it's very visually descriptive, some of the things that they do. But this one was a bit more, the last two were a bit more just generally action-oriented. I had to take notes because I know it'll be a while till I read the next one, so I had to say, like, where we left off on. So, but I'm up to date on the series, so that means I've caught up for a series for the year, which is very exciting. Did I finish anything else? I don't think so. I might have finished other stuff, but it wasn't for Grinchathon. And then in terms of what I'm currently reading, I am currently reading Starship Troopers. This can also work for Zoom because there's like drop ships and they move really fast and stuff. This is by Robert Heinlein. It is a classic science fiction novel. And I started it back in May, and it was just like horrible timing to read about like, military doing showing force, and not like it's ever a good time to hear about that, but it was just really horrible timing in terms of the world, so I put it aside. But I would like to finish it by the end of the year. Like I would like to not carry it over to the next year, so I decided Grinchathon would be a good time to read it, so I've been reading it during the sprints, which has been great, because Izzy does sprints over at Twitter all the time, and it's really just nice to be like, just to, sit down for 20 minutes or an hour and just get some pages in. I will say I'm not loving this. I wasn't loving it before, but I'm not having as strong averse reaction as I did when I initially started it. Still not a Shannon novel for sure. Like, it doesn't super speak to me. But as I've continued to read it, it's been way more about like military stuff and coming of age stuff, like enlisting and the stuff like that, as opposed to science fiction. It's actually like the whole past several chapters I've read, like if you read them out of context, you would have no sense that it was science fiction at all, which is a bit strange, but I'm sure we'll get there. Look on the cover. But it's, and I don't know. I'm going to say judgment till the end of it, but this is one that I'm reading more for more context in terms of the impact it had, or this type of military science fiction type of stuff, as opposed to enjoyment. So, and I could go back and forth sometimes on that, as a, should I do that or not? But knowing that I'm reading it for context lets me know, then that it's okay to keep going. I don't know. I'm tired, so I'm running out of words. Anyway, so I've made progress on this, for which I am happy about. Am I enjoying it? Not really, but that's okay. This one's more just like do the heavy lifting and get through it kind of thing. And then in terms of what I have started, I started Beastly Bones by William Ritter. This is the second book in the Jackaby series. This is not on my TBR. But I did read the first Jackaby during one of the other rounds of Grinchathon, so it felt fair to read it. I'm sure I could fit it in one of the prompts. Good. The first book was good. This book is good. So there we go. Overtaking the good category. So this is a historical urban fantasy series. We follow Abigail, who is she works for a private investigator who investigates sort of like paranormal and supernatural things. I really enjoyed the first book. I'm not even really enjoyed. I loved the first book, and I am really loving this one as well. So much so that I'm actually taking notes, which is, I think, something I might start to do more regularly in terms of urban fantasies that have a series, so I'm going to show notes, and it's in pencil, so it's pretty light, but I don't want to spoil the first book, which might inadvertently do that, or some part of this book. But so don't look if you don't want spoilers, sorry. But what I've done is I've just had this, this is my accordion book. I showed this a long time ago on during the history challenge. I never ended up using it, but now I'm using it for here. So I started just with this page, and I just started listing the characters and sort of what the context of the characters are, and then because it's urban fantasy, some of the characters are different types of beings, so there's someone, because Abigail's our protagonist, I usually do who they are in relationship to her, as well as Jackaby is her employer, and then other people, like this person's a client, or this person is whatever. And then I also decided, because I ran out of space, I decided to use the second page over here, which is before, but whatever, for people that showed up in the first book, and sort of updating where they are now and stuff like that. So it ended up working a bit because it's sort of before. And then I ran out of space again, which is okay in an accordion book, because I just made a new piece of paper and then added some questions. So I'm going to either put this here or here, because it's sort of plot that's connected to the first book. And then as this book develops with its plot, I'll probably add more here. So you just keep taping things or gluing things in, so you just glue them in. So that's why I have some loose papers that are roughly the same size, and I gave it a little lead, so I'll probably just do that, and then there you go. So, and then I did also just mark off spots for book 3 and book 4 because it's a 4-book series. So I have a placeholder, and then if I start a new series, I can just start on the next page. And I think this might be a really good way to go in terms of urban fantasy or even some of the paranormal romance series that are really long and have lots of characters. And I did something similar but different with the 20-Sided Sorceress series. I had a notebook and I just had a page for all of the characters. But I like this idea of being able to build up and build out, and even like you could, like if I had more characters, you know, if I had even more characters and didn't want to go down, I could create a new flap this way and then fold it over. And then I could even make a little decorative cover that says the title of the book or whatever. Like, so anyway, it can grow and shape in any which way, which is great. So that's been fun to do, although it does require a bit more work, and I have to be like a certain level of, like I have to be like, awareness or something. Like I can't be super tired if I'm gonna do that. So it is a bit of a commitment. So not sure about that. Anyway, but I'm enjoying the book, and it's been fun to engage in it in this way, but it is a bit more sort of like work. So it's not for when I'm like super tired or anything like that, which feels like all of the time now. So anyway, and I have been, that's like one of the only things I have started. I have got my currently reading down to 25, which is very exciting. It was 33 at the end of the month, or the end of last month. And I am getting close to being able to get to 366 titles for the whole year, but I hit a bit of a bizarre snag, which is that I need to read 11 more titles to get there, and I have a couple of like short works and collections and manga, and graphic novels, so that's not going to be, or comic bind-ups, it's not going to be like hardly a challenge even to get that. I feel very confident I will hit that. That being said, Goodreads doesn't totally match up to my spreadsheet because I've read a couple of titles that don't have Goodreads entries, and I have read some titles twice this year, like read the same book twice, which only counts for 1 on my list of read in 2020. So I have to read 11 more things if I want to get to 366 titles for the year, but I have to read 17 more things to get Goodreads to say that, and I'm kind of like, that feels like a little weird to go that extra mile just for something that's visual, like it feels performative. And I'm like, that doesn't feel great. Like, but I'm also kind of like, but it would be really cool. And so I'm kind of struggling with that. And I probably shouldn't bother struggling with that because honestly, if I finish anything else by the end of the year, I'm just going to be happy that I did. I really, as I mentioned before, my end of year cutoff really is November in terms of goals and stuff like that. I'll keep reading, but like, if I get anything done, I'll be happy. You know, that's why I read the kids book and I've been reading the manga, and my goal is to finish Starship Troopers. And I want to read Alien. That's on my Grinchathon TBR, but I realize Alien and Starship Troopers are like a little similar because, like, you know, so I kind of feel like I should finish Starship Troopers first, but the truth is I won't finish it before there's time to start and finish Alien, which is okay. Grinchathon is totally cool with that. You can start a book and not finish it. So, but I'm like, do I want to try and... what I'm saying is I'm resisting starting things that I won't be able to finish by the end of the year, or generally in one sitting. So Beastly Bones was the exception to the rule, and I do feel like I will finish it. I've read 75 pages and it's like 250. So I think I can probably even finish it for Grinchathon, which would be great. But any reading I get in after this is bonus. I don't have the capacity to, put a priority on reading, which is another reason why I'm not, like, this is going to be my last Friday reads for the year, for 2020, because honestly, I have no idea if I will read anything. Even for this one, I felt like it was a bit, not a lot to finish, to talk about, but there was enough. There usually is enough. But just because I'm not doing Friday reads doesn't mean there won't be videos. There will be videos. I've pre-filmed a whole bunch of stuff. There will be unwrappings. There will be some lists. And I probably will also I am also planning on taking summer all of January off, but I do have some stuff pre-filmed for January as well. So Friday reads will probably come back in February along with my goals. I have started to work on my goals and I've left them generally nebulous until today. because today I started to think about goals in terms of book to film and book to TV stuff, like adaptations, because I realized it has now been 10 years since I did my book to film club, which I did in 2011. And in 2010, it was the first year that I set out specific goals for book to film. And I set out a specific list of books that I wanted to read that were being adapted. And so I'm like, wow, it's been 10 to 11 years now. Maybe it's time to sort of like reassess or assess how I engage with book to film stuff, because my life is very different now than it was 10 years ago, but I still have some of the habits and draw of how I used to do things, but that doesn't really match how I do things now. I'm talking very nebulously. It's maybe not. Does that make any sense? So anyway, but I thought it would be interesting I'm going to probably do a separate, in the new year, I'll do a book to film goals and book to film and book to TV goals, because I've reframed some things, and then other things I'm like, I need to rethink how I engage with this because it's not working. So I have a whole bunch. That's actually, I think I have like, because I'm me, I ended up with like 8 goals plus 3 bonus goals, and I'm like, that's like probably enough for like the whole year, like regardless of any of the other projects I'm doing. But I've done really crappy at book to film this year, so I'm like, okay, I gotta shake things up, see if it's still important to me. And obviously it is if I came up with 8 plus 3 goals, but I think it needs some reframing. So I'm excited about that, and I think some of the unwrappings help that as well, because I found some book to film books in there that I want to read, that I couldn't read because they were wrapped up. And so anyway, that's been really interesting and engaging to work with, and also it was exciting and weird to think that it's the longest reading goal I've ever had has been about book to film adaptations. So I'm like, wow, if it really is something that I work on every year, maybe it should be a bit more in the forefront. And I've learned a lot, over the years. Like initially it was my only goal, right? And now this year I ended up having 39 goals, right? So it's very different. Your success rate when there's one usually is a bit different than when there's 39. Maybe, I don't know. So, but things have changed, like, as I mentioned, also things have changed a lot. And that back then when I started, my focus was film, not reading. It was film all day, all the time. Like I was watching like 300 movies a year. And now I'm reading 300 titles a year. So things have really shifted. So anyway, but, so yeah, look for that in the new year. My book to film goals. It was really, once I realized how engaged I was at coming up with the things and stuff, I'm like, oh no, there really is something here. This is actually really important to me. Or it's just something that I find a lot of ways to organize things, which sometimes I can go down that rabbit hole. Like it's just fun to organize. It's like, okay, if I'm going to organize stuff, I might as well like organize things on my shelves or organize my, how like my dishes or, organize my art supplies, as opposed to just shifting things around on a spreadsheet. Like it's not as helpful, unless it is helpful, but it's like, so I can fall down that rabbit hole, but I didn't. I actually think I came up with some really good goals. But generally speaking, I don't set my goals until the new year, and usually not till February. So I'm a little like, is it too soon to decide these? I don't know. Maybe I'll get inspired and film a video about it. No, I don't like setting goals before the new year, so I'm going to wait. I am going to wait, but I think it's going to be fun. And I had that being said, this year I did have some misses, especially with watching a lot of the adaptations and then not enjoying them. And so that really threw me off the excitement of it. But that being said, that could just be a bad run. And it also could be I waited so long to watch the adaptation. I didn't have a good connection to the book anymore. And, interests change over time, and that's definitely something that I think has had, and or you learn about things. I definitely feel like now I know, like for example, I know for book to film adaptations, I don't want to read thrillers, because I think so much of watching it is not knowing what's going to happen. So when you know the story, then you're just playing comparison to, is it the same or different from the story? I'll speak for myself. That's how my experience of reading and then watching a thriller is I just compare the two things. And then, but what makes a thriller what can make a thriller really exciting is that you don't know, and the tension and all that stuff, and I feel like that gets a little broken when you've read the story. So yeah, so I've realized now that thrillers are not a book. If it is a book to film adaptation, I want to see the movie, but I don't want to read the book. And generally speaking, I don't read a lot of thrillers anyway, so it's okay. But I always try and have a lot of different genres when I pick book to film adaptations in terms of my reading. So, but now I know thrillers aren't one that I have a high success rate in enjoying the book to film experience. So that's just one example of the things I've learned about myself over the years. And yeah, so I probably will do a video about that, and then also just my goals overall, as well as I probably will do another one that's a list. I think I'm going to be working on lists next year, and like my regular projects and challenges, as well as continuing to work on reading diversely. So that's just a little sneak preview for those that made it all the way to the end of the video, that those are probably my 3 priorities next year, are reading diversely, book to film and book to TV stuff, and working through lists. So I'm just sort of finalizing some of the details, but you know, those are all still like, you know, I'm gonna wait till next year, look back on this year, and then refine my goals. But so far, that's the direction I think I'm heading for 2021. So let me know, do you like book to film adaptations? Do you like reading them ahead of time? And is there one that's on your radar? Because I am not as attuned to upcoming ones. And of course, you know, with this year and probably with next year, you know, the film industry is impacted. I could talk about this obviously forever. So I'm going to very abruptly wrap this up and say thank you for watching to the end. I will be taking time off of Friday Reads, but there will be videos. If you celebrate any of the current or upcoming holidays, I hope that you are having a wonderful holiday season. I think we're in the middle of Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate, Merry Christmas to those who celebrate, and Blessed Yule or winter solstice to those who celebrate. It is the winter solstice on Monday, so we are going to be changing seasons here in the northern hemisphere, and the light will be returning, so the days will get longer. And then those in the southern hemisphere, wow, summer is just around the corner. And yeah, so happy holidays to anyone who celebrates any of the holidays. Otherwise, I hope everyone's having a wonderful December. We're halfway through, more than halfway through now, and it went fast. My goodness, it went fast. Okay, this is a long one, but I will be back tomorrow with another video, as hopefully for the end of the rest of the month. Fingers crossed on the rest of the filming. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. And then nap, and then some Christmas cakes. I'm holding out. I have these Christmas cakes, and I'm like, no, Shannon, you're not allowed to have any until you finish filming. So I'm determined. I especially like these ones. Oh my god, they're just totally all sugar. I never should have gotten them. I bought them, I think 2 years ago. We'd never had them before, and I always try and get something new every year. It's unfortunately a new tradition. They're very tasty. They're very tasty. Okay, I'm rambling. Okay, signing off. I will see you in my next video. I hope that you are enjoying all of the December content. It has been a lot of fun to film. So yeah, and there's lots of books. There's more, but more. There's so many unwrappings. Oh my god. It's slightly embarrassing. Okay, I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon in another video. Take care.